Welcome back to A Moment with Miranda, where we take a few minutes to reset, reflect, and remind ourselves that we are enough. Today, I want to talk about something that doesn't get brought up very often. I want to talk about what healing really looks like. And not the pretty kind that fits into a reel or your Instagram feed or a quote or any kind of healing like that. I want to talk about true healing. I mean the messy, the tangled, the I'm out of underwear and I haven't folded a thing in a week, maybe a month kind of healing. Because when I start slipping into one of those depressive cycles, it doesn't show up all at once. It shows up quietly. It shows up in the corners of my house and in the corners of my heart. It shows up in the laundry piles, in the dishes that just keep stacking and stacking and stacking. And then suddenly I realize I'm in it again. I'm just going through the motions. I'm still showing up for my kids. I'm still helping my friends. I'm still trying to be everything, everyone. But I'm losing pieces of myself in the process. And that's the part that people don't always see. Even when I'm struggling, I'm still the friend who will drop everything to help someone pack up and leave a bad situation. I'm still the person people call when they need a plan, a pep talk, or just one of those little moments of hope. Because helping people has always been a part of who I am. And honestly, it's how I get through the hard parts sometimes. And maybe that's selfish. But by showing up for others when I don't know how to show up for myself, it's something that I've always done. But eventually, that catches up with you. And it can catch up with you too. And you're left looking around thinking, who's checking in on me? What do I need to do right now? And most importantly, how do I even start healing again? Because healing isn't linear. It's not the cute straight line where every day gets better than the last. It's more like a loop or a spiral. Have you ever played Sonic the Hedgehog? The rings just start falling off. But you need to go forward. And then you take a few steps back. You think you've moved on, and then something triggers you, and suddenly you're just back in the thick of it again. And this doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean you've undone all the work that you've done. It just means you lost some of your rings. You're human. I used to think healing was this kind of destination, like something that you go to. Like one day, I would just wake up and I would be completely healed. No anxiety, no grief, no hard days. But that's not how it works. You don't arrive at healed. You live inside of healing. Some days you're on fire, and the fire is really, really hot, and you're crushing your goals, and you're confident, and you're glowing. Then other days, you're crying on the kitchen floor. You're surrounded by a mess. You're wondering, how did all of this just fall apart again? Both those days are part of your healing. One does not cancel the other out. The real shift, that happens when you stop judging yourself for those hard days. This is something that I struggled with for a very long time. I judge myself all the time. Still do. When I stopped saying, ugh, I'm back here again, and I started saying, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. Oh, whew. And I'm allowed to just sit here for a minute, just not too long. You don't lose your progress just because you heal. Healing is movement. It's a rhythm. It's a drum beat. It's one deep breath, one honest moment. It's one step at a time. And some of those steps, they might feel like you're walking in circles. But even circles can lead you forward. So, if you're in a moment where you feel like you've gone backward, that you're losing all of your rings, that they're just falling and falling and falling, and if you're thinking, I should be further along than this, please hear me when I say this. You are exactly where you need to be. Your healing isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be yours. So yeah, healing is not a straight line. Boom, boom, boom. It's not a checklist or a race to be won, no matter how fast you think you are. It's a process. And some days, the best you can do is just keep going. Some days, the healing looks like big leaps forward. Other days, it's just choosing to show up. I've had those moments where I felt absolutely unstoppable, where the momentum was so strong that I felt like nothing could shake. But I've also had those moments where I'm on the kitchen floor and I can't get up, where I'm buried in shame and dishes and old stories that are telling me that I wasn't doing enough, that I'm not good enough, that I'm a mess. But here's what I know now. Every time I choose to be gentle with myself, every time I picked up just one thing, just one, every time I gave myself permission to just not have it all together, I moved forward. Even if I didn't feel like it in the moment, even if it looked like nothing was actually healing, and even when no one else saw, I was still growing. I was still becoming. I was still rebuilding. And you are too. You don't need to apologize for where you're at right now. You don't need to be better by now. That's not a thing. You just need to take one step and then the other and then another and just keep going until you pick those rings back up. Because this journey, it's yours. And I promise, even at your lowest moments, even when the house is a mess and your mind is so overwhelmed, you're not broken. You're healing. And as you keep choosing yourself, little by little, breath by breath, step by step, ring by ring, you will look back one day and realize just how far you've actually come. Thank you for spending this moment with me. Keep going, keep moving forward, keep being you, keep healing. And as always, you were always enough, babe. Always.